few members of Congress thought it would be a great opportunity, a great time to travel to Afghanistan in an unauthorized trip to do a little bit of a PR stunt. Amid the chaos, by the way, as U.S. citizens are trying to flee the country, as Afghans are trying to flee the country, as people are trying to evacuate Afghanistan after the Taliban has taken full control of the country. But Representatives Seth Moulton and Peter Meijer are not too happy about the fact that President Joe Biden has committed to sticking by the August 31st deadline of getting out of Afghanistan. So if you watch the media, corporate media in particular, if you listen to retired generals that get interviewed day in and day out on cable news, the war drums are still being beaten by these people. They want to remain in Afghanistan. They think that it makes a lot more sense to extend that deadline. And that's exactly what Moulton and Meijer are arguing here. Now, I want to note that this is a bipartisan effort. You have one Democrat, one Republican taking this unauthorized trip. I mean, it was so ridiculous that even the Pentagon is speaking out against them. And I'll give you those statements in just a second, but first a little context. Congressman Seth Moulton, a Democrat, and Congressman Peter Meijer, a Republican who served in Iraq, went to Kabul early Tuesday to see the chaos and evacuation efforts on the ground. Like, what are they gonna do about it? Right? We know that it's chaos. We know that people are desperately trying to get out of there. We know that we're trying to evacuate US citizens and our allies. But what exactly are two members of Congress who spend most of their year on recess anyway gonna do in Kabul? Well, they're gonna do their PR stunt and urge the Biden administration to extend the deadline. So I'm gonna give you a statement that they put out following this trip. After talking with commanders on the ground and seeing the situation here, it is obvious that because we started the evacuation so late, that no matter what we do, we won't get everyone out on time, even by September 11th. I'm sure that date was just a coincidence. Sadly and frustratingly, getting our people out depends on maintaining the current bizarre relationship with the Taliban. Washington should be ashamed of the position we put our service members in. So I want to be clear about something. The Taliban is keeping cool in terms of its response to the US, to troops on the ground, to people who are still there, as long as the US government stands firm on that deadline, that August 31st deadline, which is why Joe Biden has repeatedly said that he's going to commit to it. I mean, here's his latest statement. I want to go to this press conference that he recently gave because he keeps getting asked over and over again whether he's willing to extend it. Now, pay attention because there is a little bit of a caveat here, but here's his recent statement in regard to that deadline.
We agreed that we will continue to close cooperation to get people out as efficiently and safely as possible. We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. But the completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who we're transporting out and no disruptions to our operations. In addition, I've asked the Pentagon and the State Department for contingency plans to adjust the timetable should that become necessary.
Okay, so that caveat at the very end, a contingency plan in case things don't go the way that we expect. Biden is under the impression that we'll be able to evacuate all the necessary people by that deadline. But should there be any reason to extend the date, right? Maybe we need another week to get people out. There needs to be negotiations with the Taliban. Like, understand what people like Moulton and Meijer are saying right now. Extend the deadline, extend the we have the cooperation of the Taliban right now. And the reason why they're not fighting our troops who are there still, the reason why they're not using violence against us as we're attempting to evacuate people out of the country is because we have an agreement. And you have all these goons, both here in the United States, and in this case, 2 members of Congress who took this unauthorized trip for PR purposes, urging Biden to go against what the agreement is. And then what happens when violence breaks out? Oh, well, we're gonna have to stay a little longer. Why don't we stay a little longer? We gotta stay a little, look at what the Taliban did to us on the, we didn't keep up with our part of the deal, and we decided that we would just ignore that deadline. And so they responded the way that they said that they would respond. And so now we just gotta stay in Afghanistan even longer to fight these dangerous people. It's like they're purposely and intentionally advocating for something that could lead to increased violence that could convince more people that we need to stay in Afghanistan. Doesn't it seem like that's what's happening here? And by the way, we're trying to get people out of the country. So you have 2 members of Congress taking an unauthorized trip to Kabul. And guess what? They gotta get back to the United States, right? And so they're gonna take up space on a plane when they shouldn't have been there in the first place. So let's talk a little bit about the harm that they've caused. The visit by Moulton and Meijer, which was not approved as part of the normal process for congressional fact-finding trips, served as a distraction for military and civilian staffers attempting to carry out frenzied rescue efforts. The 2 lawmakers began their journey to Kabul via a commercial flight to the UAE, paying for the tickets using their own funds, they allege. From there, they figured out a way onto an empty military flight going into Kabul. They landed at Hamid Karzai International Airport around 4 a.m. Washington time, according to a person familiar with their travel time. So senior administration officials are livid about this. Now they won't go on the record, but they did speak to the Washington Post about how stupid this was. One of them saying, quote, "It's as moronic as it is selfish. They're taking seats away from Americans and at-risk Afghans while putting our diplomats and service members at greater risk so they can have a moment in front of the cameras." Hey, how about you guys take a good hard look at what's happening within our borders? I mean, you can't get members of Congress to do their jobs and to pass legislation to actually benefit Americans within our borders. But they'll take a dangerous trip to Kabul just so they can continue beating war drums for a failed war. It's insane. Then you have some more statements from people who are frustrated by this. "It's one of the most irresponsible things I've heard a lawmaker do," said one diplomat familiar with the matter who was not authorized to discuss it and spoke on the condition of anonymity. "It absolutely deserves admonishment." And by the way, the congressman, of course, disagreed with this assessment. They're like, no, we didn't cause any problems. What we did, it wasn't a PR stunt at all. No, not at all. Here's the statement that they released following all the backlash. "We have been on the other side of this argument while we were serving, and it just isn't accurate. Trust us. The professionals on the ground are focused on the mission. Many thanked us for coming." Really, I haven't heard a single person thank these congressmen for showing up to do their little PR stunt. Not one. You would think maybe someone would, jump in and give them credit for the brave thing that they did, pushing the Biden administration to continue remaining in Afghanistan in an unpopular, failed war that has cost the lives of tens of thousands of Afghan civilians, that has cost the lives of more than 2,500 US service members, that has cost the US taxpayer over $2 trillion. They want more, and why is it? I don't know, there might be an issue with some campaign funding, which I'll get to in just a second. But I want to also just note that the Taliban has vowed to impose consequences if the US operations extend beyond that date. So do you guys understand why Biden can't just unilaterally decide that he's gonna extend the deadline or remain in Afghanistan? Whether we like it or not, the Taliban now controls Afghanistan. We need them to cooperate with us in order to get people out of the country safely. But it seems like these congressmen aren't really interested in that. They might be interested in what war profiteers want. Why don't we take a look at the funding that Seth Moulton has received from defense lobbyists from 2013 to 2022. 2022, of course, midterm election, so he's already getting funding for that campaign. $206,241, and by the way, that's the non-dark money that's been funneled into his campaign coffers since 2013. That doesn't even account for the dark money that we don't know about. But I'm sure that doesn't play a role at all for why Seth Moulton wants to remain in Afghanistan, wants to extend this deadline, which he knows is gonna lead to violence, which could threaten the lives of US officials, service members, and staffers. People were trying to get US citizens and Afghan allies out of that country. And Meijer hasn't been around for long. He's been around for a few years, so he's received a little bit of money from the defense industry to the tune of $3,211. But who knows how much dark money he's taken in? That's the Republican congressman who showed up. But either way, this was an incredibly irresponsible, stupid PR stunt. Everyone sees it for what it is. They're not heroes. It's not a fact-finding mission. It was a way to make it appear as if they're willing to risk their lives to do the right thing, when in reality, they're just standing in the way of operations meant to help people get out of the country while doing the bidding of the war profiteers who convinced the US government to remain in that failed war for 20 years in the first place. It's just absolutely pathetic.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.